What happens when an invincible god is forced to walk the earth as a humble mortal man? What kind of echo does that create across a universe of heroes? Today, we're strapping in and flying across the Rainbow Bridge to dive deep into the ultimate lesson in humility, the thunderous, mythological, and incredibly human origin of Thor Odinson. Welcome back to Marvel Echoes Residence. I'm your host, Will, and today we're talking about the bridge between mythology and the Marvel Universe. We're not just discussing an Avenger, we're talking about the god who was taught the most powerful lesson in existence, worthiness. So, Thor Odinson made his thunderous debut back in Journey into Mystery number 83 in 1962, brought to life by the legendary trio of Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. But this wasn't the Thor you probably picture today. The one with the flowing cape and the confidence of a king. Now, this was more of a setup for a monumental story about character. See, before the banishment, Thor was a prodigy, a hero of Asgard with the strength and power that surpassed almost all others. But he was also immature, arrogant, and often reckless. His father, of course, the All-Father Odin, knew that this arrogance would one day doom all of the 9 realms, or 10 realms as we know it today. It was a classic great power, no responsibility, to borrow a phrase that we used when we discussed Spider-Man's origin a few episodes back. The cosmic stakes were just too high for childish mistakes. So in an act of profound and painful parenting, Odin stripped his son of his godhood, his memories, and his power. He banished Thor to Midgard, which is our Earth for those that are not aware, in a frail mortal body of a medical student named Dr. Donald Blake. Blake was a kind, but physically limited man who had a pronounced limp. The arrogance was gone, replaced by forced humility. This wasn't a punishment, it was an education. Thor was being made to live among the very mortals he often dismissed, forcing him to learn patience, compassion, and the value of a single, fragile human life. The turning point, or the origin spark as we call it, came when Dr. Blake was vacationing in Norway. He stumbled upon a cave where he found a strange, gnarled wooden walking stick. It was during an invasion by the alien stone men from Saturn. A classic, pulpy Stan Lee setup that Blake, trapped and cornered, struck the stick against the rock in pure desperation. In a flash of lightning, the stick was replaced by the great hammer Mjolnir. And Dr. Donald Blake, he was replaced by the mighty Thor. Now this is where the echo really begins. Odin had placed an enchantment on that hammer, Mjolnir. An enchantment that perhaps the most famous piece of mythological law in the entire Marvel Universe. Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. The power wasn't a birthright, it was a reward for the character that Thor had spent his time as Donald Blake forging. His redemption was literally locked inside that walking stick. The beauty of this origin is the duality. Thor initially retained the identity of Dr. Blake, maintaining his medical practice while secretly defending humanity from threats both terrestrial and cosmic. He fought his adopted brother, the god of mischief Loki, multiple times in those early years. And those conflicts were so massive, so chaotic, they actually led directly to the formation of the Avengers in Avengers number 1 in 1963. Thor's presence was, in a very real sense, the catalyst of the entire team. This original story was slightly retconned in later years, revealing that Donald Blake's identity was never a real man, but a vessel created by Odin's spell. But the theme remains the same. Thor had to earn the power he was born with. He had to learn the value of a small life before he could be trusted with the power to protect all life. The question of worthiness is a core to his motivation, and is the single greatest source of conflict throughout his entire history. So let's fast forward a bit and catch you up on the last decade of the Thunder God's life. Thor has always been a character built on epic narratives, but the modern era has seen his character arc pushed to unimaginable limits. The first major shift that we need to talk about is a period when Thor became unworthy. This began during the original Sin event in 2014. After years of proving his worth time and time again, Thor found himself standing before the hammer with a crippled self-doubt. The hammer simply wouldn't budge. He could no longer lift Mjolnir, and the legendary enchantment, the ultimate sign of his heroic status, had deserted him. The resulting arc was one of the best comic runs in modern era. Thor Odinson, now simply known as Odinson, had to face the comic threats without his signature weapon. He was left with his Asgardian strength and skill, but he was missing the most important piece of his identity. He truly had to re-earn his worth, not just for the hammer, but for himself as well. But here's the biggest twist of that era. The hammer didn't stay on the moon. A new champion was found, and she proved worthy. This is a brilliant cancer-stricken former nurse, Jane Foster, the same woman who served as Donald Blake's love interest decades before. Jane took up the hammer and became the mighty Thor in her own ongoing series. This move, primarily driven by writer Jason Aaron, shattered the glass ceiling for the character and solidified the idea that Thor is a title of a character, not the name or gender. It was a powerful, beautiful echo that the original theme, that worthiness is rooted in sacrifice and humility. Odinson eventually did reclaim the mantle, but his journey forever changed him. He was tested again during the massive War of the Realms event, when Malekith the Accursed launched a full-scale invasion of all 10 realms, including Earth. Mjolnir had been destroyed, so Odinson, Jane Foster, and other heroes, including the incredible alien champion Beta Ray Bill, who we should probably do an episode on as well, had to fight to save existence. It was an epic, chaotic, mythological war, and through his sacrifice, Thor became the king of Asgard. In the current cosmic era known as From the Ashes, Thor continues his roles as Allfather, but with a complex new status quo. He recently had to confront the fallout of a new, more terrifying version of his adopted brother in the series, Immortal Thor, the ultimate terrifying consequence of Loki's mischief. He also struggles with the immense responsibility of his own new kingly role, often questioning his own ability to rule, which is, again, the enduring echo of Arrogant Young Prince from 1962. His current story is about the burden of power and never-ending task of proving himself worthy, not just to a hammer, but his people and the cosmos at large. The thunder never stops echoing. From a banished prince to a crippled doctor, from the unworthy Odinson to the king of Asgard, Thor's story is a constant cycle of proving that humility is the root of true power. So I'll leave you with this question. If you had to choose, what is the single greatest act of worthiness shown by Thor? The moment that truly proved he deserved the hammer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for listening to this episode of Marvel Echoes. I hope the primer helped bridge the gap between myth and modern comics for you. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you subscribe or follow so you don't miss any of our future episodes. Leaving a like and a review really help the podcast grow. And for more content, including a further deep dive, make sure you follow the link in the description below. Until next time, true believers, make mine Marvel.